I had just dragged my tired self through the front door after a grueling day, barely noticing the flickering kitchen light. But then I froze. There she was, my CO, the one whose emails could make my heart skip in panic, stirring a pot on my stove, apron tied neatly around her waist. "Surprise," she said with a warm smile, the tension from her usual office persona completely gone. My mind raced. Why was she here? Cooking? For me? I stammered something incoherent, but she waved it off. "I thought you could use a break," she said, ladling soup into a bowl and placing it gently in front of me. As we sat, I realized this wasn't about hierarchy or work. She shared stories from her own struggles, nights when she felt lost and exhausted, just like me. And somehow, in that tiny, unexpected kitchen, I saw her not as a CO, but as a human being, someone who understood the weight of the world and still chose kindness. Then she said something that hit me like a lightning bolt. "I'm staying with you tonight. You're not alone." I never expected this. The walls I had built around exhaustion, stress, and doubt crumbled. In that moment, I felt seen, valued, and cared for in a way that no promotion or praise could ever match. It was a simple act, a home-cooked meal and her company, but it changed everything. That night, I realized that true leadership isn't about power, it's about compassion, humanity, and showing up for someone when they least expect it. I couldn't stop staring at her as she moved around my tiny kitchen, humming softly while chopping vegetables. It was surreal. My CO, the woman whose sharp emails could make even seasoned employees sweat, was here, making sure I had dinner. "Why are you really here?" I finally asked, trying to sound casual but failing miserably. She paused, knife in midair, and looked at me with eyes that seemed to pierce right through the exhaustion I carried every day. "Because kindness doesn't have a schedule," she said. "And sometimes people forget that the simplest gestures mean the most." I laughed nervously. "I don't think anyone's ever cooked for me before like this." Her smile softened, and she put the knife down. "You deserve it," she said simply. "Everyone deserves to feel seen, especially when they feel invisible." We ate together in the quiet, with only the clink of spoons and the occasional hum from the stovetop to fill the silence. I found myself sharing more than I thought I would, my worries, my insecurities, even the little failures I thought no one would care about. And she listened. Really listened. Then, as if on impulse, she picked up her phone and showed me a picture of her own small apartment, sparse and messy, yet filled with warmth. "I've had nights like this," she admitted. "Times when I thought I had to face everything alone. But someone showing up, even in a small way, can change everything." I felt a lump in my throat. The woman I had only known as a boss, a figure of authority, was revealing her humanity. And in doing so, she made me feel like my own struggles mattered. That night, I understood something profound. Kindness is contagious. And sometimes it comes from the most unexpected people, in the most unexpected ways. After dinner, we moved to the living room. The quiet was comforting, yet charged with a strange mix of curiosity and vulnerability. She settled on the couch across from me, and I couldn't help noticing how different she looked outside the office, relaxed, genuine, almost approachable. "I brought something for you," she said, pulling a small notebook from her bag. I opened it, expecting perhaps a business plan or a motivational quote. But inside were pages of handwritten advice, little reminders she'd collected over the years, notes on staying resilient, finding balance, and remembering that self-worth isn't tied to achievements. "I carry this with me," she said softly, "because some nights you forget that the world isn't just deadlines and expectations. It's moments like this." I felt a wave of gratitude and disbelief. How could someone so busy, so high up, take the time to care like this? It was almost too much to process. Then she laughed, a sound so light and free it made the tension in my chest ease. "I used to think being strong meant handling everything alone," she admitted. "But I learned that true strength is letting someone in, even when it's uncomfortable." Her words hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't just about a meal, a night, or even a notebook. It was about connection, The rare kind that makes you feel safe, understood, and unconditionally supported. We talked late into the night, sharing stories of failure, hope, and dreams we'd almost forgotten we had. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like I wasn't just surviving, I was seen, truly seen, by someone I never imagined would care this much. By the time the night ended, I realized something: acts of kindness don't just fill empty plates, they fill empty hearts. And the world, no matter how harsh, can surprise you when you least expect it. I woke the next morning to the smell of freshly brewed coffee. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but then I saw her, sitting at my kitchen table with a steaming mug, scrolling through her phone like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You sleep well?" she asked, looking up with that same warmth that had softened the night before. I nodded, still a little dazed. "Yeah. I can't believe you stayed." She shrugged, but her eyes betrayed a quiet seriousness. "Some things matter more than schedules or titles. Human connection, kindness, it's rare, so when it happens, you don't let it go." We spent the morning talking, and I found myself laughing more than I had in months. Then, as if out of nowhere, she stood and began tidying the apartment. "I hope you don't mind," she said, "but I hate leaving a mess behind." I watched her move, realizing that this wasn't just a gesture, it was a lesson. She was showing me that care isn't always grand or complicated. Sometimes it's small, simple acts that ripple through your life in ways you don't expect. Then came the moment that stunned me. She reached out and held my hand, her grip firm but gentle. "You're not alone," she said. "Not tonight, not ever. Remember that." Tears stung my eyes, and I realized that this encounter had shifted something inside me. The stress, the loneliness, the weight of life, it all felt lighter. She had given me more than a night of company. She had given me hope, reassurance, and a glimpse of the human kindness that can exist even in the busiest, most demanding lives. As she left later that day, I stood at the doorway, a strange mixture of gratitude and awe swelling in my chest. I knew one thing for sure: my life would never be the same. Days passed, but the memory of that night lingered, vivid and warm. The apartment felt different now, not just a space I lived in, but a place where kindness had left a mark. I found myself smiling at the smallest things, carrying a quiet confidence I hadn't felt in years. Then I received a message from her. "Remember, your strength grows when you let yourself be cared for. Keep that light alive." I paused, realizing that the lesson she left behind wasn't about her. It was about me, and how I could carry forward the same humanity she had shown. Work resumed, life got busy again, but I noticed subtle changes in myself. I checked in on colleagues, offered small gestures of kindness, and let people in when they needed it. I saw firsthand how one unexpected act, just showing up, could ripple far beyond that moment. Months later, we met again at the office. She smiled, as sharp yet warm as ever, and said, "I hope you remember that night." I nodded, understanding that it had become more than just a story to tell, it had become a guide for living. That evening, I cooked for a friend who had been struggling, smiling as I handed over the plate, realizing the truth in her words: kindness is contagious. Compassion is powerful. And humanity, in its purest form, can transform ordinary lives into something extraordinary. Sometimes, the people we think are untouchable, the CEOs, the figures of authority, are the ones who remind us most that everyone carries struggles, and everyone is capable of immense kindness. That night in my kitchen changed my perspective forever. I learned that love isn't always grand declarations. It's quiet, selfless, and unexpected. And if we allow it in, even in the smallest ways, it has the power to light up the darkest corners of our lives.